I don't usually tell this story, not because I'm afraid you won't believe me, but because I'm afraid you will. It happened during the summer of 2019. I was 27 then. 3 of my closest friends and I decided to take a long overdue guys trip. No beaches, no cities, no tour buses, just nature, trees, lakes, fire pits, beers, something raw and unplugged, a sort of escape from the suffocating grind of real life. You know the kind. We found this place online, a remote lakeside cabin up in northern Minnesota, near the border of Canada. The listing looked rustic, but cozy. It had no reviews, which should have been a red flag, but it was cheap, available, and surrounded by wilderness. Perfect. The 4 of us, me, Nate, Jordan, and Chris, packed up my Jeep and hit the road early on a Friday. The drive was long, almost 8 hours, and by the time we reached the unpaved forest road that led to the cabin, dusk had already spilled over the treetops. The first sign something was off. There was no cell service, not just weak signal, none. My GPS froze 10 miles out. We had to rely on printed directions and memory. After turning down an overgrown gravel road that twisted like a serpent through towering pines, we finally saw it. The cabin. It was wrong. That's the only way I can put it. It didn't look like the photos. It was older, for one thing. Weathered logs, boarded up windows. The roof sagged in the middle. There was a smell too, mildew and iron, like wet earth, soaked in blood. But we were tired. Chris cracked a joke. Looks like Jason Voorhees' summer home. And we all laughed, even though it felt forced. Inside, it was just as aged. Dust thick on every surface. A fireplace with ashes that looked disturbingly fresh. A mounted deer head above the mantel. One glass eye missing. Nate tried to turn on the lights. No power. Jordan found the breaker in the basement. That's when we discovered the second thing that didn't match the listing. The basement wasn't a basement. It was a hole. A dirt pit beneath the floorboards, maybe 5 feet deep, filled with old rotted furniture and a tangle of animal bones. In the center sat a wooden chair with leather straps on the arms and legs. It looked like something out of a mental asylum. Okay, what the actual hell? Jordan muttered. We agreed not to go down there again, ever. The first night was uneasy. We got drunk to shake the nerves off, played cards, told dumb stories. Around 1 a.m., I went outside to pee and took a walk to the lake. It was glassy, black, and absolutely silent. Not even bugs. I was standing there, just soaking in the nothingness, when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. No one. I called out. No answer. Then the lake rippled, not like a fish, like something heavy had just submerged. I told myself it was probably a beaver or a muskrat, and went back to the cabin. Everyone was asleep. I couldn't sleep. The second day was hot, sticky. We spent most of it hiking through the woods, trying to find the source of a stream we could hear from the cabin. Chris kept talking about a dream he had the night before, something about a woman calling him from under the floor. We laughed, but his face was pale. He wouldn't let it go. Her skin was cracked, he said, like burned bark, and she kept saying, "You're here again," like she knew me. That night, things escalated. I woke to the sound of Jordan screaming. We all ran into his room. He was curled on the floor, hyperventilating, eyes wide like he'd seen a ghost. He said something had been standing at the foot of his bed, just staring. Black eyes, and it smiled, but its mouth was too wide. We searched the cabin, nothing. But Chris swore he saw someone out the window, near the tree line. A woman, standing barefoot in the dark. That's when I made the call. We leave in the morning. Problem was, morning never came. At least, not like it should have. I woke up at what felt like 9 or 10 a.m. My watch said 6:47, but outside, it was still dark. A twilight gloom hung over the woods, like someone had tinted the sky with ink. Fog oozed between the trees, thicker than before. Jordan had a nosebleed. Nate had scratches on his arms he didn't remember getting. Chris was gone. We found him sitting in the dirt pit beneath the cabin. He wasn't speaking, just humming, softly, rocking back and forth in that old strap chair. I shouted. I climbed down. I shook him hard. He looked up at me, and I swear to God, his eyes weren't his eyes. They were black, not metaphorically, pitch black, no whites, no pupils. And when he smiled, I saw something behind his teeth, something moving. We dragged him out of there. He screamed like a child the entire way. Once upstairs, he passed out cold. We tried the Jeep, dead. Nate ran up the hill behind the cabin, trying to get a signal. He never came back. When Jordan and I went looking for him, we found his shirt snagged on a branch. It was wet with blood, and the tree bark around it had been scraped clean, as if by claws. We ran back. The cabin door was wide open. Chris was gone again. We heard footsteps above us, someone walking in the attic. Problem was, there was no attic, just a hatch in the ceiling that none of us had dared open before. Jordan grabbed a fireplace poker and I got the flashlight. We opened the hatch. Nothing, just dust and shadows. Then we heard the humming again, not from the hatch, from the basement. I looked at Jordan. He looked at me. Neither of us wanted to go down there, but Chris was our friend, so we went. We found him kneeling in the pit. In front of him stood a mirror, a cracked standing mirror with ornate carvings, faces, hands, mouths. We hadn't seen it before. I don't know how it got there. Chris was whispering to it, not in English, something old, something guttural. The moment he saw us, he screamed, "Don't look in it." Too late. I did, for less than a second, but I saw everything. My reflection wasn't me. It was older, hair gray, face gaunt and lifeless. My eyes were sunken, and there were black veins crawling across my neck. The reflection smiled. I turned away, heart racing, bile in my throat. The mirror began to hum, and the faces in the carvings, they started to move. We pulled Chris out of there, destroyed the mirror with an axe we found outside, and decided to hike out through the woods. Screw the Jeep. We hiked for what felt like hours. The woods never changed. We kept passing the same boulder, the same twisted tree, the same stream, and then like a glitch, we were back at the cabin. We hadn't turned, hadn't circled back, but there it was, the same deer head, the same open door. That night, we sat in silence, all three of us. We didn't sleep. The fire burned out around 2 a.m., and with it, all sound. Then came the knocking, not on the door, on the windows, all of them, at once, slow, rhythmic, deliberate. We didn't move, didn't breathe. Then one window shattered, and she came in. The woman, black eyes, bark-like skin, cracked lips pulled into a smile too wide for her face. She pointed at Chris. "You said you'd come back," he screamed. We all ran. We ran through the woods for what felt like hours again. Eventually, the trees broke. The road appeared. Headlights. A truck. We flagged it down, sobbing, filthy, bleeding. The man who picked us up was a ranger. Said no one had stayed at that cabin in over 30 years. Said it had burned down in the 90s. We told him that was impossible. We stayed there. We were just in it. He took us to the site. Charred remains. Nothing but ash and debris. In the rubble was a mirror. Cracked. Ornate. It was still humming. I left Minnesota the next day. Chris was never the same. Last I heard, he checked into a psychiatric hospital. Jordan refuses to talk about it. Me, I moved to Arizona. No woods, no lakes, just desert and sun. But sometimes on still nights, I hear knocking. And when I look in the mirror, sometimes he's still smiling back. It's been 6 years. 6 years since that summer. Since that cursed cabin. Since the mirror. I try not to think about it, but I don't get a choice. Not really. It's in my dreams. In the corner of my eye, in reflective glass when I least expect it. And lately, it's been getting worse. It started 2 weeks ago. I was brushing my teeth. Just another Wednesday morning. Half asleep, shirtless, toothpaste foam bubbling at the corners of my mouth. I leaned forward to spit, and the mirror didn't lean with me. I froze. My reflection stood still, and then it smiled. Not a twitch, not a trick of the light. It looked right at me, grinned with those black stained teeth, and whispered, "It's not over." I stumbled back so hard I knocked over the trash bin. I stared at the mirror. Nothing. My reflection was just me again, bleary-eyed and terrified. Since then, things have escalated. The nightmares returned first. Always the same. I'm back at the cabin, but it's not burned. It's standing, pristine, like it was waiting for me. The deer head is mounted over the fireplace again, but now it's blinking. Chris is always there in the dream, in the chair, strapped down, eyes hollow, lips sewn shut, and the woman, the one with bark for skin and coal black eyes, is always behind him, whispering. I wake up drenched in sweat, heart hammering. Then came the mirrors. In every one of them, my bathroom, my car rear view, the window of a restaurant, I see something I shouldn't. Sometimes it's my own face staring back with rotting skin. Sometimes it's Jordan, mouth open in a scream. Sometimes it's the cabin, just for a split second. I haven't talked to Jordan in over a year. I tried calling him last week. Numbers disconnected. Chris is still in that facility up in Duluth. Last I checked, he doesn't speak anymore. They say he hums, non-stop, same tune, over and over. I had every mirror in my house taken down. I covered the bathroom one with black paint. But you know what they don't tell you? Everything reflects. My microwave, my phone screen, my goddamn eyes in the lens of my sunglasses. I started to wonder if the mirror we found in the basement was destroyed. Why is it still with me? Why now? Why again? I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers, closure, something. So last weekend, I drove back to Minnesota. I know, it sounds insane, but I had to. I needed to see it. The site, the ruins, whatever was left. The ranger who picked us up that night was long gone, retired or dead. I don't know. The state had reclassified the area as protected forest land. No public access, but I knew the roads. I remembered the turns. It took 6 hours. When I reached the old trail, I parked and walked the last half mile. Fog clung to the trees like spider webs. I passed the same warped boulder, the same crooked tree. My chest tightened with each step, and then I saw it, the clearing, but it wasn't the same. The rubble was gone. No ash, no beams, no foundation, just grass, tall, fresh, untouched grass, as if the cabin had never existed at all. I should have turned around. I should have run, but my feet moved forward, like they were being pulled. Then I heard it, humming, faint, behind me. I turned. Tris stood at the tree line. Same hospital gown, same hollow eyes. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. And then he spoke. First time I'd heard his voice in years. "She wants you back." Before I could move, he vanished, just blinked out of existence like a bad TV signal. I ran back to my Jeep, but the forest wasn't letting me go. I reached the trail. It was gone, just more trees, endless. I spun around. No Jeep, no road, no sound, just fog. I was back in the loop, like before. It was then that I noticed something in the clearing, a shape, something buried beneath the dirt. I dug, with my hands, like a lunatic, fingers bleeding, and I found it. The mirror, cracked, covered in roots and soil, but whole. I stared. My reflection didn't move. Then it smiled, and this time it spoke aloud. "You never left." I don't remember the next few hours clearly. I woke up in a hospital. Some hikers found me wandering a trailhead 15 miles north, muttering nonsense. Arms scratched to hell. Do doctors think I had a psychotic break? Maybe I did. But when I checked my backpack, which I don't remember carrying inside, was a shard of mirror glass, wrapped in cloth. And when I looked into it, I saw the cabin, standing, intact, a light on in the upstairs window. I'm writing this now, because I need someone to know. If I disappear again, if you hear I went missing, it wasn't random. She took me back. The woman in the mirror, the forest witch, the forgotten thing that lives between reflections and time and sanity. And she's watching you too. Every time you glance into a mirror and forget to blink, every time you catch a shadow moving just behind you in the glass, she's there, smiling, waiting. It's been 3 days since I came back from Minnesota. I haven't left the apartment. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time. That shard of mirror I found in the clearing, I've kept it wrapped in a towel, shoved in the back of my freezer like that's going to help, but it doesn't matter. The humming, it still comes, especially at night. Low, constant, like a whisper beneath the refrigerator motor, like something trying to speak through the glass. I tried getting rid of it. First I threw it out. Next morning, it was back on my coffee table. I tried breaking it. Hammer, brick, everything. It won't shatter. And sometimes, God help me, sometimes I catch my own voice echoing out of it, talking in circles, whispering words I don't understand. Yesterday, I noticed something new in the mirror shard. A face, not mine. Jordan, eyes swollen, skin gray, dead, but staring. He opened his mouth, and blood bubbled out. I screamed, and dropped the shard, but it didn't fall. It just hovered there in the air for a second, like the laws of physics had paused. Then it gently lowered itself back to the floor. That's when I knew this isn't just a haunting, it's a gate. I spent all night researching folklore, demonology, urban legends. I found a single reference, a tiny cryptic blog post archived from 2004. Some mirrors are cursed, not by who looks into them, but by who looked in first. They are not reflections, they are relics, portals, traps. Burn the cabin, bury the glass, and whatever you do, don't look at her. No name, no contact, just that warning. But I'd already looked at her. I'd looked at her 3 times. So I made a decision, a reckless, final, probably suicidal decision. I was going back in. Midnight. I sat in the center of my apartment, lights off, candles lit, the shard in front of me. I laid out a circle of salt around the room. Old superstition, maybe useless, but I needed something. I didn't blink. I stared into the glass. My reflection stared back, then changed. Not slowly, instantly. I was looking at the cabin again. Not a reflection, a live image, like a window. The door opened. She stepped out, not running, not floating, just walking, patient, cold. She didn't blink, didn't breathe. She looked right through the shard, right into me, and she whispered, "Come home." The glass exploded. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was in the woods. No transition, no dream feeling, just bam, cold pine air, dirt beneath me, the distant sound of flies. It was dusk, the exact hour we first arrived that summer. I recognized everything, even the smell, damp rot and old ash. But there was something new. In the distance, the cabin stood again, rebuilt or untouched. I couldn't tell. It looked exactly as it did on our first day. Lights on, fireplace flickering, and someone was standing in the doorway. Not her. Jordan. He waved. I should have run, I know that, but I walked forward, step by step, like gravity pulled me. When I reached the porch, Jordan hugged me. His body was warm, too warm, like a fever. And when I pulled back, I saw the truth. His eyes were empty, not black, not hollow, glass, like his soul had been vacuumed out, and something else was wearing his skin. "You made it," he said. "She's waiting." I turned to run, too late. Behind me, the trees closed, like a door slamming shut, and the cabin whispered, through the cracks in its old timber, "You're home now." Inside was worse. The layout had changed. The walls were closer, the ceiling lower, the rooms warped, like the house had grown tumors. I passed a hallway that stretched for miles. I heard crying behind a closet door. I opened it. Nothing but teeth, human, glued to the walls, chattering like insects. Then I found the basement again. Same wooden hatch, same pull rope, but now there were steps leading down. I descended, and at the bottom was Chris, strapped to the chair, mouth sewn shut, chest rising and falling with unnatural rhythm, like a puppet's. He didn't look at me, just whispered through sealed lips. The humming again, and the mirror stood behind him, whole, polished, waiting. This time, I didn't fight it. I looked, and everything vanished. Now I'm inside the mirror. This isn't a metaphor. I am literally inside the mirror. The world is made of glass. Every surface reflects something that isn't real. Every doorway leads back to the cabin. Time loops like a scratched record. Sometimes I hear my own voice in another room, screaming. Sometimes I walk through a door and come out the ceiling. Gravity changes without warning. The woman is here, everywhere, watching. Sometimes I see her in the walls. Sometimes she's wearing my mother's face. Sometimes she's me. I don't know how long I've been here. Hours, days. There is no sun, no clocks, just cold, warped light, and the feeling of being watched. The only other soul I've seen is Nate. He's crawling on the ceiling, naked, bones jutting from his skin, eyes like shattered glass. He whispers, "We let her in, we made her strong." Then he chews on his fingers until they bleed. If you're reading this, somehow, if this story made it out of the mirror, listen closely. There are other shards, not just the one I found. Every mirror is a fragment of her world. Every time someone stares too long, every time someone whispers a name into the dark, she gets stronger. The cabin isn't a place, it's a trap, a lure, a gateway to a world built on reflections, memories and pain. And she wants you now, because you've read this far, because you've seen her name, even if I never spoke it, because her eyes are already on you. Some advice before it's too late. Cover your mirrors, all of them. Don't speak to your reflection. Don't answer when it speaks to you. And if you ever hear humming, anywhere, out of nowhere, run or don't. She's patient. She'll wait. She always waits. Let me start by saying, I don't know what I am anymore. I remember being a man. I remember my name, my face, the warm skin on my fingertips, the sound of wind through real trees. Now all I know is glass, fractured space, endless corridors, where my own screams echo back at me like ghosts. I wasn't supposed to get out, but something went wrong. Something let me back in. It started with a knock on the glass. I thought I imagined it, just another hallucination in this endless house of mirrors. But it came again. 3 knocks, deliberate, real. I followed the sound, past a hallway made of fog, through a room that bled ink from the walls. At the end was a mirror, the same one from the basement, but now it was showing the outside world, my apartment, or at least some version of it. And someone was inside, a woman, mid-20s, dark hair in a ponytail, hoodie and jeans. She was staring into the mirror, into me, and she said something that froze me in place. "Who are you?" That was the first time anyone had looked into the mirror and seen me. I tried to speak. The words came out warped, slowed, but she heard something. She leaned closer. "Is this real? Are you stuck?" I pressed my hand to the other side of the glass. She mimicked it. Our palms aligned, one in the real world, one in the fractured void. And for the first time since this began, I wasn't alone, but she wasn't alone either. Behind her, in the apartment's reflection, something moved. A shadow, slender, watching. The woman didn't notice. She leaned closer. "I'm not afraid. Tell me what to do." And I knew she could pull me out. If she touched the mirror, really touched it, and spoke my name, it might open the gate. But she said the wrong name, hers, and the mirror pulsed. I screamed. She flinched. The shadow behind her stepped into view. Her, the witch, the mirror woman, the thing that had stalked us since that summer. She didn't attack. She just smiled. And she said, "One in, one out." Then she shoved the girl into the glass. I was thrown back. Light, sound, gravity bent and broke. And when I landed, I was back in my apartment, lying on the hardwood floor, covered in dust. The mirror was gone. The candles had melted to nothing, and my mouth tasted like smoke. But I was back, alive, real. I ran to the window. Outside, city lights, sirens, normalcy. I wasn't in the loop anymore. I wasn't in the cabin, but I didn't feel right. Everything felt lighter. My movements were smooth, too smooth. I walked to the bathroom, turned on the light, and looked in the mirror. And I saw her, the girl who tried to help me, trapped behind the glass, banging on it, mouth screaming a name I couldn't hear, and staring back, was her face, on my body. I hadn't escaped. She had. The witch had used the girl's touch to swap me out. Now she wears my skin, and I wear the girl's soul, trapped in the mirror world. I don't know how long I've been here now. I don't know if time works the same, but I've found others. Jordan, Nate, even Chris, all broken, all different. Some don't speak, some whisper backwards, some just stare. But we all remember one thing: we look too long. And here's the part that matters, the part you really need to hear. That mirror, the cursed one, it's not the only one. She left pieces of it in every city, every country. They look normal. You pass them every day. But if you stare long enough, if you listen hard enough, if you ever say the words, "I'm not afraid," while looking into a mirror, she notices. And she starts to knock 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. It might not happen today, might not happen tomorrow, but one day soon, you'll look into your bathroom mirror, and it won't be your face that blinks. Found on a Reddit thread titled "Ra La Lynch's Solved Mysteries," posted by u/randomwitness47 2 weeks ago. Did anyone else hear about the woman who vanished from her apartment in Chicago? No signs of struggle, no evidence of forced entry, just her phone, left recording on the counter. In the video, you can see her walk toward the bathroom mirror. She says something to herself, smiles, then she leans forward, and her reflection doesn't move. And that's when the video cuts to black.